further ado, Charlotte, may I hand over to you and you can take us away.
Thanks very much, Emma. So as Emma said, my name's Charlotte Lewis and I'm joining you from the Centre for Ageing Better. So Ageing Better is a charitable fund funded by the National Lottery, and we have the big, bold aim to enable everyone to live a good later life. We do this by working to influence policy and practice, aiming to create age-friendly employment, age-friendly homes, and running a national campaign to tackle ageism. And one of the things that we do is we provide the secretariat for the UK network of age-friendly communities, where we work with local authorities to try and grow the number of communities across the UK that are age-friendly ones, and then inspire, connect, and support those communities that are taking this age-friendly approach to learn from one another and from evidence. So today I've got about 10 minutes and I'm going to tell you a bit about what the age-friendly communities approach is, where it comes from, what frameworks it uses, and what can be achieved through adopting this approach, and what some of the first steps are if you want your borough to become an age-friendly community. Some of you may already be joining from boroughs who are age-friendly communities, and this might be a good opportunity to learn a little bit more about some of the detail that underpins this work, or you might be thinking about whether starting an age-friendly journey in your borough is right for you. So to start off, I'm going to introduce why it all matters. So this graph on the screen, which I know is quite small, but it's you just to be able to visually see. And this graph shows the percentage change in the population that we're expecting to see in the next 20 years in the purple bars and in the next 40 years in the green bars. And you can just visually see here that we're not expecting major change in the age group 64 and under, but we are expecting a notable increase in the percentage of the population who are 65 to 79-year-olds. And we're expecting to see a really big increase in the 80 plus group, with an 111% increase in the population who are 80 plus in the next 40 years. So obviously these stats will look different for London and for your own individual borough, and we would expect to see a smaller increase across London, but there will be an increase all the same. So the population is ageing, and our population is becoming increasingly diverse, particularly relevant in London. So if we're to ensure that our communities work for everyone, including older people, we must act now to make the most of the opportunities and combat the challenges of our ageing population. So to begin to introduce how we might do that in our boroughs, I'm going to play a quick 1-minute video. So to reiterate what we heard in the video, an age-friendly community is a place that enables people to age well and live a good later life. It's somewhere where people can stay living in their homes, participate in the activities that they value, and contribute to their communities for as long as possible. And the World Health Organization's Age-Friendly Communities Framework acts as a guide for communities to achieve this goal. So this approach was developed by the World Health Organization back in 2007 in consultation with older people around the world. It's built on the evidence of livable communities, universal design, and aging in place. And since its development, making more communities across the world age friendly has been a key part of a number of healthy aging international strategies that you can see in some of the pictures. And we're currently in the UN Decade of Healthy Aging. So why should communities adopt the World Health Organization age-friendly communities approach to address demographic change? Firstly, it supports an effective and targeted use of resources. So just because this demographic shift is a big change doesn't mean that we suddenly have lots of resources to address it. By going through the World Health Organization process we're going to lay out today, communities can understand their unique opportunities and challenges that this demographic change poses to their place and can make strategic decisions about where to use limited resources to make the biggest difference. The approach is preventative. By supporting people to remain active and more connected for longer, you'll see better health outcomes and less reliance on critical and crisis responses. For instance, we'd want to see people supported to make adaptations in their home that prevent a fall or a move to a care home, for instance. The approach brings together the public, private, and voluntary sectors to identify and make changes. Although it's often the local council who's coordinating the work, sometimes local age UKs as well, everyone has a role to play. And by bringing partners together, it can help places consider how to integrate their services to work better for older people. From a statutory perspective, adopting the age-friendly communities approach can help councils meet their duty under the Equality Act, ensuring that age is considered as one of the protected characteristics, as well as the Care Act to prevent, reduce and delay people's developing needs for care and support. Age-friendly communities put local residents at the heart of making change, creating opportunities to hear their voice and to co-produce solutions to local issues. And finally, becoming an age-friendly community isn't just about starting lots of new things. It's a way of bringing together and making visible all the work that's already happening in your community, which is making it a good place to age. So this here is the key framework that age-friendly communities use. It's the 8 domains of age-friendly. Now, these 8 domains are the aspects of community life that you'd want to be considering when making your plans. They cover the built environment, looking at outdoor spaces and buildings, transportation and housing, as well as the social environment, looking at social participation, respect and social inclusion, civic participation and employment, communication and information, and community support and health services. Paying attention to the needs and perspectives of older people within these domains can mean the difference between older age becoming a barrier or not in your age-friendly community. An age-friendly community will use these domains as a lens to look across their community, bring together data, build partnership, and take action around these areas. So if those 8 domains are the what of what's happening in a community to make it more age-friendly, this program cycle is the how. It's a 4-step cycle which guides communities through the process of making improvements. A community will start by getting political commitment for the work, understanding how age-friendly their community currently is. They'll then move on to plan strategically, where they'll use all the information that they've collated to understand what their priorities are for making their community more age-friendly. The third stage is about deciding what to do about those priorities, so developing and delivering an action plan. And finally, they'll evaluate what they've done and start over. And communities can go at their own pace through this work, but we tend to find the cycle takes about 5 years. So what do all those frameworks mean in real life? Ooh. Well, here are some pictures representing some of the age-friendly work happening in communities across the country. What a community chooses to do is up to them, responding to their own opportunities and challenges. But here are just a few examples of what has come out of making the age-friendly commitment in other places. This toilet map in Bedminster, a neighbourhood in Bristol, plots out cafes, restaurants and community buildings who are happy for people to use the loo there. Age UK Isle of Wight developed training to help service providers become more age friendly. And now it's compulsory for the island's main bus operator for all staff to go through this training. In Bolton, they've been conducting walkability assessments with a range of older people to inform the town centre development, which has already informed the extending of pedestrian crossing times, for instance. In Nottingham, they worked with over 300 local businesses for them to offer up a place for people to take a seat when they're out and about without the pressure to buy anything, to help tackle social isolation. In Barnsley, they've supported a number of walking sports clubs to enable people to remain physically active for longer. And across the UK, many age-friendly communities on the 1st of October hold a range of activities to mark International Day of Older People. In particular, many have hosted events which bring together physical activities or social activities together with key services and information for residents. And we know that there are fantastic events that happened this year in Barnet and Newham, for instance. Across the UK, there are 70 places who are taking this approach who are members of the UK network of age-friendly communities, representing a population of over 25 million people. These range from towns, districts, cities, and city regions. And there are currently 7 boroughs that are adopting this approach in London, and London itself is taking an age-friendly approach led by the GLA. And we want every borough to support every borough in London to become an age-friendly community. I know, for instance, Islington has just signed a motion to start the journey, and there are a number of others who aren't too far behind. And if you decide to start on this journey, know that you are not alone on it. We support the network through training, peer learning. We connect members to learn from one another, identify and share good practice across the country to make it as easy as possible. And just to finish off on my final slide, how would a community get started in making this commitment for developing the work? Firstly, they'll need to gain political support. That might look like a motion going to Cabinet or being approved through a Health and Wellbeing Board. Secondly, they'll be setting up the working groups who can start to direct this work, including representation of stakeholders across those different domain areas, as well as older people across the community. This could start off small. They could use existing groups or start new groups to lead the work. And thirdly, a place would want to be starting to assess how age-friendly they currently are by bringing together data and speaking to a diverse range of older people about what it means to age in their place. So an age-friendly community is a partnership which brings together different organisations across these domain areas. But generally, it's the responsibility for coordinating this work can sit within the local authority or within a voluntary sector organisation. So for those of you who are joining today from communities that aren't yet adopting this approach, as councillors in the room, if we were to look at these 3 steps, the most obvious role you can play to help get this started in your area is that top one, working to get that political commitment. So if you think this approach might make a difference in your borough, I'd encourage you to share more with your colleagues and consider submitting a motion to make your community an age-friendly one. We have template motions and can support you throughout this journey. But if you're joining from a community that's already made that commitment, already an age-friendly community, I'd encourage you to find out more about what's going on in your borough and how you can further support. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte. That's really helpful. John, did you want to add any words to what Charlotte was saying?
Sure. Thanks, Emma. Hi, everyone. My name's John. I work for the charity Age UK London. We're a campaigning charity, and our campaigns are age-friendly campaigns, whether that's on support for older people that rent from a private landlord, whether that's campaigning on the subject of toilets, whether it's about accessing services if you're digitally excluded, raising awareness of poverty among older Londoners. 24% of older Londoners unfortunately live in poverty. We've done some recent research. Most older Londoners are positive about living in the capital, which is fantastic. The bad news, unfortunately, is that only a minority of older Londoners really feel that they're valued in their communities. The issues that are most important, we found from our research to older Londoners, are health and finances. And, you know, in this cost of living emergency, we're particularly looking at older Londoners in poverty. And it's that poverty is usually worse for pensioners that live alone. Nearly half of all older Londoners that are social tenants live in poverty. But we see much higher rates of poverty across all London boroughs, and that's something that we really need to tackle, whether that's through pension credit uptake campaigns or other means. So the last word before I'll hand over to Councillor Khan, if she's ready, is if you are either an existing age-friendly council or you're at a council that's considering or thinking about kind of starting your age-friendly journey, I'd very much sort of encourage you to reach out to your local Age UK. There are 23 local Age UKs covering 31 of our boroughs. In places like Lambeth and Barnet, they've sort of taken a coordinating role, but also they are sources available to you to speak and to older people, older residents, to find out what they think and more importantly what their priorities are, and that's a really important early step of the age-friendly process. I shall stop there and see if Councillor Khan is ready.
Okay. Well, we're actually very excited because, as you know, Newham is one of the fastest growing, youngest and most diverse borough in London, with a population of over 351,000. And because of this large young population, it has sometimes been perceived and in terms of a policy has not considered the needs of the over 50 plus. So the aging well strategy was one, we see it as a one council approach to readdress this imbalance. And our Aging Well strategy was launched last year, 2022. Yes, it aimed at helping to improve the health and well-being of residents age 50 plus, whilst also reducing the health inequality. The council is now delivering our ambitious corporate plan, building a fairer Newham. Following the launch of our strategy, the council obtained age-friendly community status, and this provides us the opportunity to be part of the global network of age-friendly cities and communities in steering our work in building a fairer Newham. Interesting. This year, earlier this year, we were nominated for the Local Government Chronicle Award for the work that we've been doing on age-friendly communities. This was a nice surprise as we were continuing to work and learn from the global network of age-friendly cities and communities. So why Newham Council also signed up to the Age-Friendly Employer Pledge. Age-friendly status demonstrates Newham that recognizing the importance of and values its older employee, and it is committed to supporting them flourishing in a multi-generational workforce, retaining them and continuing to benefit from their wealth of skill and experiences. This will also help Newham to lead by example by encouraging our local employers to apply for age-friendly status. I don't know if people had any questions or any comments.
It would be interesting, Councillor Khan, if there were any particular challenges that you're aware of that Newham had to overcome in going through the process.
I think it's always kind of telling the meeting about the challenges. I guess as a borough who's got a high population of younger people, we went through a phase of, just acknowledging, that the support and the acknowledgement of the needs of our senior generation. That itself, I think it's a challenge, and the borough is in richness with diversity, but at the same time, it brings, huge challenge in terms of like health inequalities, and I think it's been COVID probably has been a huge learning curve for us. I think in some ways, reading that huge report about how much more and the gap there in terms of, meeting the needs of the diverse community that lives in Newham has been a huge challenge. Although we celebrate that diversity, but it comes with multiple, difficulties that we probably did not address or need to do more.
And do you have any advice that you would have for any other boroughs thinking of going through this process?
I think the acknowledging is a big thing, and I would say that we have been through this process because we are very passionate about working and improving the lives of our senior generation, and it's that commitment we've got to invest in that area and think long term. The experiences of our seniors do need to be kind of used in education and all areas.
Fantastic, thank you. And it's interesting to hear you speak about the challenges of having quite a young population, and how important that chimes with what Charlotte was saying about needing that kind of political buy-in and support, so you do get that focus when it's needed on the older age groups, older communities.
Yes, absolutely. And I think if you look at how the current, without being kind of too political here, but without mentioning this, I think I do unjust, but the huge cuts in our services, that simply doesn't help us to continue to provide the level of service that we want to.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, Councillor Khan. I think we have about just under about 9 minutes left in this meeting, if my times are correct. We've got a couple more questions that have come through. Which one? Yes, one which was Councillor Esme Dobson. I think this might be for you, Charlotte. Do you have any kind of checklist that a council can use that should be doing who's considering going age friendly?
Yeah, so I guess the first thing I'd say to that is that becoming an age-friendly community isn't an accreditation. It's not you need to do these 5 things and you are now age-friendly. It's about making a commitment to make improvements at whatever pace you can. So with that in mind, there's not a checklist of you need to have these things in place that you have to implement. That being said, there is guidance from the World Health Organization about what sort of things might be in place in an age-friendly community. And as I said throughout my presentation, becoming an age-friendly community is as much about understanding what partners and older people, what their priorities are locally, what are your opportunities and challenges to make improvements, what's already going on in your place, and developing responses that work for your community. There are the similar sorts of things that do come up in a number of age-friendly communities. So I'd say that in terms of the checklist, starting with looking at what what is already happening in age-friendly communities. I shared just a couple of case studies there, but we have lots more examples on our website, and we can send around afterwards of different approaches to combating those different challenges.
Thank you. Another question from Councillor Judy Dixie. Are there any examples of actions addressing loneliness?
I'm happy to respond on that one whilst Councillor
Okay, go ahead.
Audio responds. I think I would say that there are lots of different actions that are helping to address loneliness in age-friendly communities. A couple of examples: in Leeds, there's been this great initiative called Shared Tables, where within an area in Leeds, they found that lots of people, there's coffee mornings on a Tuesday morning, but nothing to help people socialise in the evenings and weekends. So they've developed a shared tables approach where people can come together and enjoy a meal at a local restaurant. There's some great work happening around offering a warm welcome. So we find that often lots of activities may be put on by local age UKs, other local voluntary organisations that help tackle loneliness, but sometimes it's about enabling people to feel encouraged to participate and then stay when they join. So lots of specific approaches, but I would say I think the real benefit of the age-friendly communities approach, if you remember those 8 domains flower that I shared, all those petals overlap. And that's because we know that all of these different domains all impact each other. So for instance, how easy it is for you to take transport to an activity going on impacts your ability to feel social isolation and loneliness. Knowing that you'll have a place to take a seat on a bench might impact your how confident you feel to go out into the town centre. So there are specific approaches that are tackling loneliness and isolation, but also it all intersects with these other factors that make an environment that supports people to feel connected.
Thank you. John, I might come to this. This question might be one that you have a view on. As a council, a question: any advice on how we avoid othering in the debate? We all get older. This is something I'm noticing as I'm getting older, certainly, that suddenly you're being referred to as the old person. From maybe a campaign's perspective, is that something that?
Well, I mean, I guess the sort of overarching thing I would say is, if you're making something age friendly, people of all ages are going to benefit. You know, there's people friendliness in making our environments more welcoming and more inclusive. And you know, some of the things that might benefit older people in particular, there are always going to be other groups across society that will particularly benefit from those things as well. It's about bringing people together, and it could be specific what's called intergenerational work, where you're really proactively working to bring younger and older people together. And I think that's really important in the kind of listening stage of work when you're talking to people, because lots of these challenges are actually shared. It's just that the way that they're felt might be slightly different across the ages. So yeah, I think it's really important to listen and bring people together, and looking at aging as an opportunity, not a problem that needs to be tackled, but something that if you work with people, you're making the place where you work, our communities, much better for everyone. And whether that's thinking about the contribution that older people make as workers, as carers, as unpaid carers, as volunteers, as community leaders, as workers, and lots of others. So yeah, look at it positively, look at the benefits, and actually this is making our communities better for everyone.
Thank you. Well, it looks like we have just about run out of time. So if I can just say a big thank you to our speakers, Charlotte Lewis, John McGeevy, and Councillor Khan. Thank you very much for your time, and to the delegates, thank you for your questions and for your forbearance.